Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is a beautiful island country in South Asia located in the Indian Ocean. Despite being a relatively small island, Sri Lanka is endowed with a diverse collection of landscapes, climates, and natural features. Sri Lanka's infamous beaches have been enticing visitors for many years. It has lush, deep green forests, hilltop hideaways, traditional working tea plantations, and a diverse array of wildlife. It is called the Pearl of the Indian Ocean because of its shape and location. It is separated from peninsular India by the Palk Strait. Its proximity to the Indian subcontinent has ensured a close cultural connection between Sri Lanka and India. Today in Sri Lanka, Buddhism is the largest religion with 70% of the population practicing it. This is followed by Hinduism with 12.6% followers. Islam is the third largest religion in Sri Lanka with 9.7% of its population choosing it as their way of life. Each religion has a unique story in the country. This is the story of Islam's arrival and survival in the island of Sri Lanka.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.
The Silk Road is one of the most important trade routes in history. The Silk Route was a historic trade route that dated from the 2nd century BC until the 14th century. It stretched from Asia to the Mediterranean, traversing China, India, Persia, Arabia, Greece, and Italy. It was through these roads that relations between the East and West were established. The last prophet of Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was born in Mecca in the year 571 AD. He united the Arabian Peninsula under Islam during his lifetime. Islam started its expansion towards the eastern regions through trade that was encouraged by the development of sea silk roads. Muslims were known to have a commercial talent, notably encouraged by Islam. A Bagla or a Bagala is a deep sea dhow, a traditional Arabic sailing vessel. The name Bagla means mule in the Arabic language. Dhow is the generic name of a number of traditional sailing ships. Baglas were widely used in the past centuries as merchant ships in the Indian Ocean and the minor seas around the Arabian Peninsula. They are documented to have traveled eastwards to Sindh, India, and up to the Bay of Bengal, and further beyond as far as the Spice Islands near Indonesia. The commercial ships had to halt at various ports to be supplied with water and food, be repaired, or to wait for changes in the wind direction. These interactions resulted in further expansion of Islam to the people living in important coastal cities in the Indian subcontinent. When the time was right for the sailors, they would embark on their next destination, which in the case after India was typically China. Many of the Arab and Persian traders settled down on the island in large numbers and controlled much of the trade on the Indian Ocean. They married native Tamil and Sinhalese women and settled in the east of the island around Batticaloa and Ampara. This settlement is evident from the population distribution of Muslims in Sri Lanka even today. As we can see, the majority of Muslim areas are along the coastal line of Sri Lanka. Islam has existed in these communities along the Arab coastal trade route from the early 7th century. The Travels of ibnBatuta in Sri Lanka is a very famous historical record about ancient Sri Lanka. Ibn Battuta was a famous Arab traveler who visited Sri Lanka in 1344 AD and later recorded his journey in our island of Sri Lanka in his famous book called Ar-Rihla, The Travels. He talked about the different places he visited and wrote about his experience in Sri Lanka. He writes, "When I came before this infidel king, he rose, made me sit by his side, spoke to me very politely, and said, Your comrades may disembark here safely. They will be my guests until they choose to depart, since friendship exists between me and the Sultan of Ma'bar. Then he ordered that I be lodged, so I stayed there 3 days and received great honors, which increased every day. He understood Persian, and all that I related to him about kings and countries impressed him. The Portuguese started to control Sri Lanka in the 16th century and used the term Moor to describe the island's Muslims. When the Portuguese arrived during the 15th century, many of the Arab traders' descendants, now called Sri Lankan Moors, were the main traders in spice, with their connections extending to the Middle East. The Portuguese colonists attacked, persecuted, and destroyed the warehouses, the settlements, and trading networks of the Moors. The Muslims of Sri Lanka helped the local king fight the invading Portuguese. The Muslims here have a very rich history behind them, one of inspiring stories of their resistance against the Dutch and Portuguese occupation of the island. They not only withstood the attacks on their businesses, lives, and properties, but they also stuck together to resist in order to preserve their religion, their lives, and the lives of their fellow countrymen.